The handcuffs clicked around Dr. Sarah Collins' wrists in the middle of Manhattan's wedding of the year. 400 society elites watched a respected physician get arrested for destroying families with fake DNA tests. But 30 seconds earlier, everyone thought Rachel Turner was the crazy one. The black woman crashing a billionaire's wedding, holding supposedly fake DNA results, about to be dragged out by security, until billionaire Alexander Hart saw the little girl holding Rachel's hand, saw his own eyes staring back at him, saw 6 years of lies explode in 3 words Rachel spoke. "She's your daughter." And the woman who destroyed them? She was standing right there in the cathedral, about to get exposed in the most brutal way possible. If you're new here, smash subscribe now because this story has more insane twists than anything we've ever covered. Returning viewers, comment if you'd crash a wedding to expose the truth. Hit like if you believe liars always get caught. Don't skip a single second because what's coming will blow your mind. Every minute of this story has a shock you won't see coming. Let's go. 20 seconds. That's all Rachel had before security removed her. Her daughter Lily squeezed her hand. "It's okay, Mommy. Tell them." That little girl gave her courage. But this moment started 6 years earlier with a pregnancy test and a lie so evil it would destroy 3 lives. Rachel was 23, grinding at New York Presbyterian, living on ramen. Then Alexander Hart walked in. 33, gorgeous, worth 9 figures. Manhattan's most eligible bachelor. His grandfather had a stroke, ended up in Rachel's ward. She didn't treat him like a patient. She treated him like family. Alexander noticed. This woman didn't care about his billions, just cared about people. First date, Rachel said no fancy restaurant. Dollar pizza and Central Park. "I want the real you." Alexander fell harder than he thought possible. 9 months later, he proposed in the hospital garden. She said yes. Everything felt perfect. Then 3 months after their engagement, Rachel felt sick constantly. Took a pregnancy test. 2 pink lines. She planned this romantic reveal. His favorite meal. Candles. Tiny baby shoes. But when she told him, something died in his eyes. "Are you certain it's mine?" For words that shattered everything. Rachel stared at him, unable to process it. "What did you just say? With your schedule, all those overnight shifts. How can I know for sure?" After everything they'd built, he was questioning her because she worked hard. "Alexander, how dare you?" But Alexander had shut down. "I need proof, Rachel. I need a paternity test." Here's what nobody knew. The test that would destroy them? About to be fake. Completely fabricated. By someone they both trusted. Someone drowning in $3 million of gambling debt. Dr. Sarah Collins had been Alexander's family physician for 15 years. Rachel chose her for pregnancy care. What neither knew. Dr. Collins was drowning. Dangerous people threatening her family. 2 weeks to pay $3 million, or her husband and daughter would pay the price. When Alexander asked Dr. Collins to handle the test privately, she saw salvation. Rachel made a choice. "Fine. You want a test? You'll have one. But when this baby is yours, we're finished. Because I refuse to marry someone who doesn't trust me." "Rachel, stop being dramatic. You just accused your fiancé of cheating." The test got scheduled. But Dr. Collins was already forging. Already building an elaborate lie. "Alexander, I need to speak with you privately," Dr. Collins said after collecting samples. They met at his office. What she told him changed everything. "I'm sorry, Alexander. The baby isn't yours." Alexander felt the ground disappear. "What? Are you sure? I ran it 3 times. Rachel has been unfaithful. The baby isn't biologically yours." The lie came easy. Dr. Collins had spent 2 weeks preparing. Forged results. Fake documentation. But she wasn't done. A simple lie wasn't enough. "There's something else. I believe I know who the real father is." Rachel's study partner Michael Stevens. Also black. Perfect scapegoat. "It's Michael Stevens. They've been having an affair for months." None of it was true. Michael was married with 3 kids. But Dr. Collins presented evidence. Fabricated texts using specialized software. Manipulated photos from study sessions. Time-stamped receipts made to look romantic. An entire narrative painting Rachel as a cheater. The evidence looked real. Too real. 2 weeks creating it. Manipulating photos. Forging documents. I need copies of everything. Every text. Every photo. Dr. Collins handed over a thick folder. But she wasn't done. Michael could contradict her story. Expose her lies. So she made sure that wouldn't happen. She called Michael that evening. Alexander Hart knows about your affair with Rachel. He's hired people to hurt your family if you don't disappear. All lies. But Michael had a wife. 3 kids. He couldn't risk it. Within 24 hours, Michael Stevens vanished. Moved out of state. Changed numbers. Gone. And with him went the only person who could prove Rachel's innocence. Dr. Collins played it perfectly. Forged test. Fake evidence. Eliminated witness. 1 week. Now she just watched 2 lives crumble. Alexander confronted Rachel that evening. Rage burning. I know about Michael. I know everything. Rachel stared in confusion. Michael? What about Michael? Stop lying. I have proof. The baby isn't mine. You're not making sense. Michael is married. He's my friend. What proof? Alexander pulled out the folder. Fabricated texts. Manipulated photos. Fake receipts. Rachel looked at evidence that seemed real but was completely false. This is insane. I've never cheated. Those texts, I don't know where they came from. You know me. I thought I knew you. But you've been playing me, haven't you? Using me for money while sleeping with Michael. That's not true. Then explain the paternity test. Explain how Dr. Collins, my physician for 15 years, would lie. She has no reason to. Perfect setup. Who would believe a respected physician would fabricate results? Nobody. Exactly what Dr. Collins counted on. Pack your things. I want you gone. Out of my life. I never want to see you again. Rachel tried, begged, cried, screamed, but Alexander had shut down. Evidence looked too real. Nothing Rachel said would change his mind. That night, Rachel packed while sobbing. The man she loved threw her away based on lies. She tried calling Michael. Number disconnected. Dr. Collins had gotten to him first. As Rachel left carrying Alexander's baby and nothing else, she made a promise. One day, I'll prove my innocence. One day, Alexander will know the truth. But she had no idea how hard the next 6 years would be. How many times she'd choose between eating and buying formula. But she also had no idea that truth has a way of coming out. 7 months later, Rachel gave birth alone. County hospital. No family. No friends. She held her daughter and felt love so powerful it hurt. I'll give you everything I never had, baby girl. One day, your father will learn the truth. She named her Lily, after Alexander's grandmother, keeping Alexander connected to their daughter, even if he didn't know she existed. Surviving as a single black mother with zero support was brutal. Alexander made sure she was isolated. Used his influence to get her fired. Word spread fast. Other hospitals wouldn't touch her. Rachel took whatever jobs she could find. Overnight cleaning. Waitressing. Babysitting other people's kids while Lily slept in a booth because she couldn't afford childcare. Some days she chose between formula and eating. Baby came first. Always. Alexander threw himself into work. Company value quadrupled. Bought bigger penthouses. Faster cars. Dated supermodels. Anything to fill the hole Rachel left. But late nights, alone, he'd miss her. Miss her laugh. Miss how she made him feel like more than his bank account. Then he'd remember Dr. Collins' evidence. Those texts. Those photos. That test. Anger would flood back. Dr. Collins watched both their lives. Made sure her lies stayed buried. When Rachel tried reaching Alexander through friends, Dr. Collins intercepted messages. When Rachel attempted legal help, Dr. Collins used connections to destroy her credibility. Dr. Collins had paid her gambling debts. Dangerous people were gone. Her family was safe. But now she was trapped. If truth ever surfaced, she'd lose everything. So she made sure truth would never come out. By the time Lily turned 4, Rachel had clawed back. finished nursing certification through night classes, found a position at a small clinic. Lily was growing up brilliant and beautiful. "Mommy, how come I don't have a daddy?" Rachel's heart shattered. "You do have a daddy, sweetheart. He just doesn't know how incredible you are yet. Will he ever know? One day, baby. One day." That day felt impossible until Rachel saw news. Alexander Hart was getting married. The announcement was everywhere. Manhattan's billionaire bachelor had found love with Christine Bradford, a blonde socialite. Wedding of the century. But what caught Rachel's attention was something small. A quote from Alexander in Manhattan magazine. "Christine and I are planning to start a family immediately. Being a father has always been my greatest dream." Those words hit like a sledgehammer. Being a father was his greatest dream? Then why abandon his first child? That night, Rachel made a decision 6 years in the making. She'd tell Lily the truth, and make certain Alexander knew the truth. But first, she needed proof that couldn't be disputed. Rachel used every cent to hire David Chin, former NYPD detective specializing in family situations. Expensive, but he had a reputation for being thorough and ruthless. "I need you to investigate what really happened 6 years ago. Someone lied about a paternity test." David listened with growing alarm. Something sounded wrong. The original accusations, the evidence, how everything fell apart so quickly. All hallmarks of a setup. "Rachel, is there any chance Alexander isn't Lily's father?" Rachel looked at her daughter drawing a picture of a family. Mommy, Daddy, and a little girl. The family Lily never had. "David, I've never been with anyone else. Alexander is Lily's father, and I can prove it." "How?" Rachel pulled out a small box she'd carried for 6 years. Inside was hair from Lily's first haircut, a baby tooth, hospital bracelet with footprints, things with Lily's DNA. She also had items Alexander left behind. Coffee mug, t-shirt, razor, things with his DNA. "I saved these because I knew this moment would come. I knew truth would matter more than lies." David took the box. "Mommy, I drew our family," Lily said, walking over. "It's beautiful, baby. Our family might be getting bigger real soon." David ran the DNA test using a lab he trusted. No connection to Dr. Collins or Alexander's circle. When results came back 3 days later, they confirmed what Rachel always knew. Alexander Hart was absolutely Lily's biological father. 99.97% certainty. But David discovered something else. Something that would blow this case wide open. "Rachel," David said, expression grave, "you were right. Someone did lie. And I know exactly who." David had been digging into Dr. Sarah Collins' background. What he found was a pattern of corruption extending far beyond their case. Dr. Collins had a massive gambling problem. She'd been falsifying medical records for years. Paternity tests, insurance claims, disability reports. She'd been manipulating lives. Rachel and Alexander weren't her only victims, just the most lucrative. David found 5 other families Dr. Collins destroyed with falsified paternity tests. Men who'd raised kids that weren't theirs. Women accused of cheating when faithful. Families torn apart because Dr. Collins needed money. But Rachel and Alexander's case was different. Dr. Collins hadn't just falsified the test. She'd created elaborate fake evidence, fabricated texts, manipulated photos, even threatened Michael to disappear. She'd gone to extraordinary lengths. David wanted to know why. The answer was simple. Alexander Hart was worth billions. If Rachel ever sued for support, if truth came out, Dr. Collins knew Alexander would destroy her legally. He had resources to investigate thoroughly, so she'd made sure her lie was so elaborate nobody would question it. She'd destroyed Rachel's life to save her own, and she'd been monitoring both for 6 years to make sure truth never surfaced. But Dr. Collins made one mistake. She'd gotten greedy. After paying initial debts, she'd gone back to gambling, made more debts, falsified more records. One family she'd scammed hired an investigator who started connecting dots. That investigator reached out to David, and together they built a devastating case. "Rachel," David said, spreading documents. "We have everything to prove Dr. Collins falsified your test. Her gambling records, her falsified documents, testimony from other victims. Everything. But we need to move fast. If she realizes we're onto her, she'll disappear." "When is Alexander's wedding?" "4 days." David smiled. "Then that's when we expose her. In front of 400 witnesses. In front of Manhattan's elite. We destroy her the same way she destroyed you." Rachel hesitated. "If I crash his wedding, I'll humiliate him in front of everyone." "Good," David said bluntly. "He destroyed your life, threw you out while pregnant, used his influence to get you fired. He deserves to be humiliated." "But what about Lily? She doesn't deserve her father's humiliation being her first memory." David softened. "You're right. But Rachel, if you don't do this now, Dr. Collins will have time to cover tracks. She might disappear. You might never get another chance. Your daughter deserves to know her father, even if it's painful." Rachel looked at Lily playing in the corner. Her daughter deserved a father, even if exposing truth meant destroying Alexander's wedding. "Okay, let's crash that wedding and burn Dr. Collins' world to the ground." Next 4 days were a blur. David helped Rachel plan every detail. When she'd arrive, where she'd stand, what she'd say. They coordinated with NYPD detectives building a criminal case. Rachel bought a simple dress for herself and Lily. Nothing flashy, just clean, dignified. This was about truth, about justice, about a mother fighting for her daughter's right to know her father. Wedding morning, Rachel stood in her bathroom mirror, hands shaking. This is it. No turning back. In a few hours, Alexander's world explodes. "Mommy, you look pretty," Lily said, wearing her purple Target dress. "Are we meeting Daddy today?" "Yes, baby. We're really meeting your daddy. Will he like me?" Rachel pulled her daughter close. "Baby girl, when your daddy sees you, he's going to love you more than anything." But what Rachel didn't tell her was that before Alexander could love her, his world had to shatter first. St. Patrick's Cathedral was everything Rachel expected. Towering Gothic architecture, stained glass, 400 guests in designer clothing, security everywhere, camera crews. This wasn't just a wedding. This was a social spectacle. Rachel and Lily slipped into the back row as ceremony started. Rachel's heart pounded. Her hands shook, gripping DNA results. Every instinct screamed to run. But then she looked at Lily, staring at flowers with wide eyes, and Rachel found her courage. This was for her daughter, for the 6-year-old who deserved a father. "Dearly beloved," the minister began, "we are gathered to witness the union of Alexander Hart and Christine Bradford." Rachel watched Alexander at the altar. He looked older, more successful, but also more tired, like success hadn't brought happiness. Next to him stood Christine, stunning blonde in a dress that probably cost 6 figures. If anyone has any reason why these two should not be wed, speak now or forever hold your peace. This was it. Rachel stood, still holding Lily's hand, voice cutting through the cathedral. "Stop this wedding." Every head whipped around. 400 pairs of eyes locked onto the black woman and little girl. Camera phones came out. Security started moving, but Alexander raised his hand, stopping everyone. Because he'd seen her, and more importantly, he'd seen the little girl. The little girl who had his eyes, his chin. "Rachel," Alexander whispered, voice carrying. "What are you doing here?" "I'm here with your daughter, Alexander. The daughter you threw away 6 years ago because someone lied to both of us." The cathedral erupted. Gasps, whispers, shocks. Christine staggered backward. Alexander's parents looked faint. Business partners whispered urgently. Society pages just got their story of the decade. Christine recovered, voice sharp with fury. "Security, get this woman out. This is my wedding. I will not have it disrupted by some crazy ex making up stories." But Rachel was already walking down the aisle, still holding Lily's hand. DNA results clutched tight. Every step felt like fire, every eye judging her. 6 years ago, Alexander accused me of cheating when I told him I was pregnant. He demanded a paternity test. When results came back, they said he wasn't the father. He threw me out based on those results. Based on a test handled by someone we both trusted. Rachel reached the altar and held up the official DNA report. These are new test results, Alexander. Real ones from a legitimate laboratory. These results prove Lily is your daughter. That she's always been your daughter. And that someone we both trusted destroyed our lives for money. Alexander took the DNA report with trembling hands. His eyes scanned numbers, percentages, official seals. 99.97% probability of paternity. There was no denying it. But it was looking at Lily that really broke him. Because now, really seeing her, he couldn't believe he'd ever doubted. She had his eyes, his stubborn chin, the way of biting her lip when nervous. She even stood like he did. This was his daughter, and he'd missed 6 years. "Hi," Lily said quietly, looking up at the tall man staring with tears streaming. "Are you my daddy?" Alexander dropped to his knees right there at the altar, still in his tuxedo, and looked at his daughter for the first time. "Yes," he whispered, voice shattering. "I'm your daddy. I'm so incredibly sorry I wasn't there before. Sweetheart. I'm so sorry." But Christine wasn't accepting this. Her perfect wedding was being destroyed. Her social triumph turning into humiliation. "Are you serious right now?" she screamed. "Alexander, get up. This is our wedding. I don't care what some test claims. You're marrying me today." The guests were in chaos. Everyone talking. Phones recording everything. Social media exploding. This was going viral in real time. But Alexander wasn't getting up. Still kneeling. Still looking at his daughter. Tears flowing as 6 years of regret crashed over him. "Christine, I can't," he said without even glancing at his bride. "This is my daughter. I abandoned her because I believed a lie. So what? You're going to abandon me instead? At our own wedding." Alexander finally stood and looked at the woman he'd been about to marry. She was beautiful, successful, everything that looked perfect. But she wasn't Rachel. And watching her scream about her humiliation while his daughter stood there, he realized something crucial. Christine cared more about this wedding, about the spectacle, about social status, than she cared about him or truth. "I'm sorry, Christine. I can't marry you. Not today. Not ever. There's too much I need to fix first." Christine's scream echoed through the cathedral as she ripped off her engagement ring and hurled it at his feet. "You're going to regret this. You're going to regret choosing them over me. I'll destroy you. I'll destroy all of you." But Alexander was already turning back to Rachel and Lily, reaching out carefully to touch his daughter's face like he couldn't believe she was real. "Can you ever forgive me?" he asked Rachel, voice broken with remorse. "For what I did? For throwing you out? For not trusting you? For missing 6 years of her life?" Rachel looked at this man who'd shattered her world 6 years ago, who'd left her to raise their daughter alone in poverty while he lived in luxury. Part of her wanted to make him suffer. Part of her wanted to say no. But then she looked at Lily's face, seeing pure happiness as she finally met her father. And Rachel knew the right choice. "We have a lot to talk about, Alexander. A lot to work through. But yes, I forgive you. We both forgive you. Because holding on to anger won't help Lily. And she deserves to know her father." The cathedral was still chaos. Guests filing out in shock. Media scrambling for statements. Christine screaming threats. But in that moment, it felt like the three of them were the only people in the universe. Until Dr. Sarah Collins came sprinting down the aisle, voice desperate and panicked. "Stop! Don't believe her. She's lying. The DNA test is fabricated. I handled the original test, and I'm telling you that baby isn't yours, Alexander." The woman who'd destroyed their lives was about to face justice. And what happened next would expose corruption so extensive, it would make national news. Dr. Sarah Collins burst through cathedral doors like someone possessed. White coat over sweatpants. Hair wild. Eyes desperate. She'd been monitoring social media obsessively, and videos of Rachel's revelation were going viral. Millions of views in minutes. Biggest scandal Manhattan had seen in years. "Stop!" Dr. Collins screamed, running down the aisle. "Don't believe her. She's lying. The DNA test is fabricated. That baby isn't yours." But David Chun was right behind her, along with 2 NYPD detectives and a folder packed with evidence that would destroy Dr. Collins completely. "Dr. Sarah Collins," Detective Martinez announced, voice carrying through shocked cathedral. "You're under arrest for fraud, falsifying medical documents, conspiracy, and wire fraud." The guests gasped as handcuffs clicked around Dr. Collins' wrists right there in the wedding chaos. Camera phones captured every moment. This was going to be everywhere. But Dr. Collins wasn't going down quietly. "You don't understand," she screamed at Alexander as officers restrained her. "I saved you. Rachel was using you for money. She was sleeping with multiple men. That baby isn't yours. I'm trying to protect you." "Actually," David Chun stepped forward, opening his evidence folder. "Let's discuss what really happened 6 years ago. The truth." The cathedral went silent. Even Christine stopped raging to listen. "Dr. Sarah Collins has been falsifying medical records for over 8 years, David announced. "She's $3 million in debt to illegal gambling operations. She's falsified paternity tests for at least 12 families we've found. Probably more we haven't discovered." The guests were horrified. 12 families? In Rachel and Alexander's case, David continued, Dr. Collins didn't just falsify the test. She created elaborate fake evidence, fabricated texts using specialized software, manipulated photos to make innocent study sessions look romantic. She even threatened Michael Stevens to disappear so he couldn't contradict her story. She destroyed 3 lives to pay off gambling debts. Dr. Collins' face crumbled as David continued exposing her crimes. Dr. Collins has been running a scheme for years. She'd identify wealthy patients, men with money. Then she'd falsify paternity tests to break up their relationships. Afterward, she'd approach the men privately, offering to help them recover their money through lawsuits. She'd charge consultation fees, legal fees, all fake, all designed to drain money from vulnerable people who just had their lives destroyed. David pulled out more documents. She did it to Alexander too. 2 years after throwing Rachel out, Dr. Collins approached Alexander offering to help him sue Rachel for fraud, wanted $50,000 upfront for legal consultation. Alexander paid it because he trusted her. Alexander stared at Dr. Collins in horror. "You came to me 2 years ago, told me Rachel was trying to extort money, offered to help me legally. I gave you $50,000. And I never filed any legal documents," Dr. Collins whispered, defeated. "I just kept the money. I kept all of it." The cathedral was in shock. This wasn't just fraud. This was a years-long criminal enterprise that had destroyed dozens of families. "My grandfather trusted you," Alexander said, voice shaking with rage. "My family trusted you for years. You treated me when I was a teenager. You were at my engagement party. And you destroyed my life for money. I needed it." Dr. Collins sobbed as detectives prepared to lead her away. "They were going to kill me. My family was in danger." "You stole 6 years from my daughter," Rachel said, voice steady but filled with pain. 6 years she'll never get back with her father." As Dr. Collins was led out in handcuffs, still sobbing, the guests sat in stunned silence. But Christine Bradford wasn't finished. She'd been standing at the altar watching her perfect wedding implode, and she wasn't about to let it end without one final attempt to destroy them all. "Well, isn't this touching?" Christine said, voice dripping with venom. "But nobody's asked the important question yet." "Christine," Alexander said tiredly, "please just leave." "Oh, I'm leaving, but not before I tell everyone what I've learned about your precious Rachel. Because I've spent the last year investigating her, and I found some very interesting information." Rachel felt her heart sink. She'd been waiting for this. "Rachel Turner has a criminal record," Christine announced loudly. "Theft charges from when she was 19, drug possession, fraud charges related to her student loans. She's a criminal, Alexander. Is this really the woman you want raising your daughter?" Rachel's family in back pews gasped. But Rachel stood tall, ready to face this. "You're right," Rachel said calmly. "I do have a criminal record." The cathedral went quiet. "When I was 19, Rachel continued, voice steady, "I was homeless. My mother had died. I had no family. I stole food from a convenience store because I hadn't eaten in 5 days. Just bread and peanut butter. I was arrested and charged with theft." Rachel looked directly at Alexander. "The drug possession? It was marijuana. It belonged to my boyfriend, but I took the blame because he already had a record. I was young and stupid. And the fraud charges? I lied about my income on my student loan application because it was the only way I could afford college. The only way I could escape poverty. The only way I could become a nurse." Rachel paused. "I've never hidden my past. I paid for my mistakes, did community service, completed probation, learned from everything. But every choice I made was about survival, about trying to build a better life." Alexander stepped closer to Rachel. "You never told me specifics, but you told me you'd made mistakes you weren't proud of. Because I wanted you to love me for who I'd become," Rachel said, "not judge me for where I'd been." Christine's face twisted with fury. "So you're okay with being with a criminal? A liar?" "I'm okay with being with a woman who survived impossible circumstances and built herself into someone incredible," Alexander said firmly. "Rachel paid for her mistakes, became a nurse who saves lives. She raised our daughter alone for 6 years with zero support while I was living in luxury. She's the strongest person I've ever met." Alexander turned to face the cathedral. "Christine has tried to humiliate Rachel, but the only person who should be ashamed here is me. I threw away the woman I loved based on lies. I abandoned my daughter. I used my money to destroy Rachel's career. If anyone here wants to judge someone, judge me. But Christine had one final card. Well, then you'll all be interested to know that I've contacted Child Protective Services. A drug conviction means Rachel is unfit to be a mother. I filed a report this morning. They should be here any minute to take that little girl into custody." Rachel's blood turned to ice. This was her worst nightmare. Losing Lily because of mistakes she'd made as a desperate teenager. But Alexander moved to stand beside Rachel, taking her hand firmly. "Then they'll have to go through me first. And Christine, when they get here, they're going to find out that you filed a false report to a government agency, which is a federal crime. You're bluffing. Try me. I have lawyers who live for cases like this. You file a false CPS report, I'll have you arrested for harassment, filing false reports, and anything else my lawyers can make stick." Just then, David Chen stepped forward again. "Actually, Ms. Bradford, you might want to reconsider that CPS report, because I have recordings of you bribing people to create false evidence against Rachel. Text messages of you threatening witnesses. Documentation of you attempting to file false reports with multiple government agencies. The FBI is very interested in talking to you," David continued. "They're particularly interested in your attempts to manipulate government systems for personal revenge. That's a federal crime with serious prison time." Christine's face went white as 2 more federal agents appeared at the cathedral entrance. "Christine Bradford, you're under arrest for harassment, filing false police reports, bribery, witness tampering, and attempted kidnapping conspiracy." "What? Kidnapping?" "You filed a false CPS report specifically designed to have Rachel's daughter removed from her custody," one agent explained. "That constitutes attempted kidnapping by fraud under federal law." As Christine was led away in handcuffs, screaming threats, Rachel finally broke down crying. Not from sadness, but from relief so powerful it hurt. The last threat was gone. Dr. Collins was in custody. Christine was in custody. It was finally over. Alexander wrapped his arms around Rachel and Lily. "It's over," he whispered. "All the lies, all the threats, all the people trying to keep us apart. It's finally over." But Lily had the most important observation. "Daddy, does this mean we can have cake now? I saw cake in the back, and it looks really good." Everyone who was still there burst out laughing, tension finally breaking. And in that moment, surrounded by the wreckage of what should have been Alexander's wedding. They became a family for the first time. The next months were a journey. Alexander didn't try buying his way into Lily's life. He earned it. Started with supervised visits at a park. First, Lily was shy, but Alexander was patient, got down on her level, made her laugh. Slowly, Lily warmed up, started calling him daddy, and Alexander fell more in love every single day. Alexander and Rachel went to family therapy. Rachel finally had a safe space to express all the anger, all the pain, all the years struggling alone. Alexander listened, really listened, took responsibility. He set up a trust fund for Lily, paid back every cent Rachel had spent raising Lily alone. But more than money, Alexander showed up. Went to school conferences, dance recitals, doctor appointments, learned to braid her hair, learned her bedtime routine. 1 year after the wedding crash, Alexander asked Rachel to marry him again. I know we're taking things slow, but Rachel, I want to marry you. I want to be your husband and Lily's father legally. Will you marry me? Rachel looked at the man who'd destroyed her, the man who'd spent the past year proving he'd changed. And she said yes. But we're doing this our way, not some society spectacle. Just us, our families, something small and real. 6 months later, they married in the same hospital garden where Alexander had first proposed 7 years earlier. Lily was their flower girl. It was small, intimate, real. Nothing like the spectacle at St. Patrick's. And that's what made it perfect. When Alexander said, I do this time, he meant it. He was committing to the family they'd built, to the trust they'd rebuilt, to the love that had survived lies and years of separation. As their lips met, 8-year-old Lily shouted, finally, now we're officially a real family. Dr. Sarah Collins was sentenced to 15 years in federal prison. Lost her medical license permanently. Her husband divorced her. Her daughter refused to speak to her. She lost everything. Christine Bradford was convicted and served 2 years. Her family disowned her. Her social standing was destroyed. Michael Stevens returned to New York after Dr. Collins was arrested. Testified at her trial. Finally free from threats. 2 years after their wedding, Rachel and Alexander had another daughter, then a son. Their family grew. Alexander left work at 5 every day for family dinner. Never missed a school event. Never took his family for granted again. Rachel got her nurse practitioner license. Opened a community clinic in Queens providing affordable healthcare to struggling families. And Lily grew up strong and confident, knowing she was loved by both parents. On Lily's 16th birthday, she asked her parents to tell her the whole story, every detail. Rachel and Alexander told her everything. The love, the lies, the betrayal, the struggle, the truth, the reunion. When they finished, Lily was quiet. Then she said something that made both parents cry. Thank you for fighting for the truth. Thank you for not giving up. Thank you for showing me that love is worth fighting for, even when it's hard. And as Rachel looked at her daughter, then at Alexander, then at their 2 younger children, she knew something with absolute certainty. The DNA test had revealed more than biological truth. It had revealed that love, trust, and family are worth fighting for. No matter how long it takes or how many people try to tear you apart, their happily ever after hadn't come easy. It had come through tears and struggle and pain and growth. But that's exactly what made it real. That's exactly what made it last. And that's exactly what made it worth everything they'd endured to get there. This story has everything. Lies, betrayal, justice, and finally, real love winning against impossible odds. If the story moved you, smash that like button and subscribe for more incredible stories. Drop a comment telling me your favorite moment. Was it the wedding crash? Dr. Collins getting arrested? Christine's downfall? Or that beautiful ending? Share this with someone who needs to believe that truth always wins. Like and subscribe for more.